Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Today's warehouse needs to keep inventory moving smoothly and quickly. Meet these challenges with on-demand warehouse labeling from Brother Mobile Solutions. Our mobile and industrial printers will help optimize your operations to achieve the speed, reliability, and durability your warehouse needs. With easy integration for existing warehouse technology, convenient portability, and upfront affordability, Brother Mobile Solutions is at your side when it comes to warehouse labeling. Try one for free today by visiting brothermobilesolutions.com/new warehouse or click the link in the show notes. That's brothermobilesolutions.com/new warehouse to try one for free today.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. Today's episode, I am going to be joined by a former guest. So we haven't talked to him in quite some time, a little over 2 years, actually. We're going to talk to Roger Sands, who is the CEO of Wyebot. And Wyebot is focused on AI-powered Wi-Fi internet. Pretty interesting concept and something that was very interesting when we talked a while back. But we're going to get some updates from Roger and see what they've been up to and how a little bit the AI-powered Wi-Fi kind of differs from traditional Wi-Fi, and also talk a little bit about how Wi-Fi is looking when 5G is also becoming a lot of discussion as well in our space. So, Roger, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Kevin. It's great to be on the show. I'm glad we're able to connect again. A lot's happened in the last couple of years across the industry and Wyebot. So, thanks for having us on.
Definitely happy to connect again. Happy to get you back on the show. So before we kind of dig into anything deeper here, why don't you just give us a little brief overview of Wyebot, what it is you guys do for those that may not know?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, we're the market leaders in, as you mentioned, Wi-Fi automation. Mm-hmm. I ran HP's Wi-Fi business for 7 years globally. And during that journey, working with IT leaders in all different verticals, and that's when my co-founder and I realized that we needed a change in the industry. And the change is what we call IT automation, Wi-Fi automation. And the networks are so dynamic now, right? These, what we call mobile enterprise. If you're looking at warehouses and manufacturing, the number of connected devices, inventory management systems, robots, tablets, personal devices, it's a very challenging environment. And the whole objective of Wyebot is to leverage automation. You mentioned it earlier, Kevin, AI technology, leveraging automation to be proactive as opposed to reactive in supporting high performance Wi-Fi environments. And that's where Wyebot comes in. We're saving a tremendous amount of time and resources and dollars for IT organizations because, again, now, instead of working in a manual, reactive type process when intermittent issues occur. And that's what we're talking about here. When it gets to the mobile enterprise, Wi-Fi networks, they tend to have intermittent issues. And we built a system that allows us to automatically detect what those issues are, along with how to solve those problems. So it's automation, saving time and money for organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mean, since we've talked the last time, obviously internet was extremely important for our industry in the, warehousing distribution environment then, but tell us a little bit about, what you've seen kind of over the last 2 years, especially, coming out of the pandemic and all those different things. I mean, how important really is having reliable internet in a warehouse distribution fulfillment type of environment now versus, a few years ago?
Yeah, we're seeing across the industry, and it varies by customer, of course, but we're seeing a general trend to leverage more automation, not Wi-Fi in general, just in terms of warehousing and manufacturing, right? More automation to streamline the operations, right? I think we all know now there's been a large demand for solutions out there, backlog of components because of the pandemic. And so delivering to customers is critically important, but supply chain and warehousing plays a core element to that. And so what we're seeing is companies start to continue to expand their automation for their processes, right? Again, accurate and predictable inventory management and how they support customers in the order process, et cetera. So that whole streamline operation is what's driving a lot of focus, especially since they want resiliency built in. During a pandemic, as we all know, it was often challenging to get resources to locations, hours shifted, processes shifted. And so having some resiliency built in, and IT plays a core component of that, we are seeing a shift, more dependency on applications, computers, and the internet. And as we work in that environment, the whole premise is being built around mobile connectivity, Wi-Fi, and you did mention 5G. 5G also is expanding its capabilities, but mobile connectivity is what we refer to, and having a reliable solution for that is critical to make sure you can support your customers and your business moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even, in my experience in the warehouse and operations, I mean, having a moment or even like a little blip, you might call it, in Wi-Fi or internet connectivity can cause, huge delays in the operation and just the flow of goods and processes. And especially now, I mean, I think if, anybody would go to any trade show within our industry, you see pretty much everything that is being demonstrated or showcased there has some connectivity to the internet in some way. So we're becoming more and more dependent on having reliable internet and ensuring that, we're constantly up and connected in order for things to be able to work and to flow within our operations. So it's really important to have that reliable internet. And I think, what you guys are doing, as you mentioned, through the automation and the AI to ensure that those things are being covered and you're not really having downtime is super important. But tell us a little bit about, when we look at a traditional Wi-Fi application, I mean, how does that differ from this AI-powered Wi-Fi that you guys are offering?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, great question. I want to just touch on, the explosion of devices you mentioned before I answer your question, because it is important. I was at the CES conference in Las Vegas in January with a number of my team members, and we were able to not only, present our solution, but obviously see a large plethora of devices out there. And you're absolutely right. Majority of them are IoT devices, meaning they're connected to the internet. And, I think the value for that is telemetry data, right? Analytics.
Right.
So these devices being connected can provide a lot of valuable telemetry analytic data, and that allows organizations to become more optimized, right? In their processes in the warehouse, in the inventory management, in the delivery of services and goods to their customers. And so, yes, that internet connectivity is only going to expand because most of the connected devices now are reliant on it. And so it's the core, we call it the on-ramp to the internet,
Right.
but it's the core technology that the whole business operations are running off of. So, from our point of view, that's critically important. Now, the difference, right, to answer your second question,
Sure.
between Wi-Fi automation and let's call it traditional Wi-Fi solutions, which most warehouses and enterprise customers have,
Right.
has to do with the intelligence, right? So when we use the word automation, we're talking about a layer of intelligence that's built into the solution to minimize the overhead and complexity for IT organizations. So today's Wi-Fi networks and solutions, their primary focus is enabling connectivity to the internet. That is their primary focus, right? You're able to connecting client devices and have internet connectivity. And they do that well.
Yeah.
There's a number of solution providers out there. The technology obviously has matured a lot over the last 10 plus years. And so it provides a good solution for the customers. What's missing in that environment, right, is when there are intermittent issues that you referenced, Kevin, right? It can be just a blip. It can be a roaming situation, which in warehousing is fairly common when you have devices, whether they're the robot types or even individuals with tablets and other manual devices they're walking around with, intermittent issues, right? So that's when the challenge comes up. And what happens in today's operation, since you have to maintain a high level of business continuity, that's what's critical here. And especially, it's always been important, but especially in the post-pandemic era, because of supply chain challenges, et cetera, we have to maintain business continuity. And that means those intermittent performance issues, right, on the operational side need to be A, prevented as much as possible, obviously, and B, when they do occur, rapid resolution, right? So that blip that you mentioned is very short and or does not happen again. And that's where we need to leverage intelligence, right? We need some additional computers, compute technology with AI that can analyze all this in real time. Because IT organizations, they don't have the resources and the time that's required to keep track of these dynamic networks, Kevin. They're changing so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? You have staff in a warehouse that are moving around with goods, with inventory management, with processes and procedures, and trying to keep track of all of the IT operations for the communication between those devices and what we call the traditional Wi-Fi networks. Humans can't keep up anymore. So that's where Wyebot, companies like Wyebot come into play, is we overlay those networks very effectively. We work in tandem with the existing Wi-Fi infrastructures to provide that level of automation to minimize any downtime and enable business continuity.
Very nice. And for clarification, you said there in the last part. So I mean, you guys are not actually providing the connectivity. You're providing like a solution that repairs the connectivity automatically. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We don't provide the Wi-Fi APs or the infrastructure, the connectivity to the internet. There's great vendors out there. In fact, we are pleased to announce that we're vendor agnostic. And our customers actually appreciate that, because now when there is an intermittent issue, which in most environments is going to be, unfortunately, that's just the life we're in now.
Yeah.
And when there is an intermittent issue, identifying again rapidly within minutes what it is and how to solve it. That's another thing that's important about AI and intelligence is we can provide the solution to solving the problem to prevent it from happening a second time. And so we're vendor agnostic and we're able to analyze the entire ecosystem to look and help you understand, is it something on the infrastructure side? Is it something on the client side? Or is it something in the environment, interference, non-Wi-Fi neighbors, et cetera? And so because we're vendor agnostic, we're able to provide an independent, holistic view to rapidly identify those issues and the solutions for them.
Very interesting. And I think the one thing you said there's a super important point is that you're identifying the issue and rapidly fixing it, but you're also identifying the issue and, like you said, being proactive in the sense that it's not going to happen a second time. And I think that's really important. And I think, some people listening probably agree that they could use something like this in their house for their Wi-Fi. I know when my only solution when something happens is I unplug the router and plug it back in and hope that fixes it. It's really a great thing. I mean, especially when you think of a huge operation and, the infrastructure that goes into there. And like you said, so many things are happening and so many things are connected to the Wi-Fi and the internet there, that if it goes down for, a minute, 2 minutes, just a couple of minutes, and I've been in these situations, it can throw off the operations day for, it could have a couple of minutes, could lead to, a couple hour backup or something like that, depending on, the volume that you're pushing through there. So it's really, really a really important thing to make sure that you're solid and strong there. And I'm curious, do you have any examples where your solution, Wyebot solution, has been able to help an operation stay online in a critical time where there was some connectivity issues going on?
Yeah, absolutely. What I want to do is give you a little bit broader statement because we're deployed in lots of, I'm going to group manufacturing and warehousing together. I know they're different segments, but have similar challenges, inventory management, what type of inventory is flowing through the warehouse, et cetera. So we're in, that's our core vertical, right? Between that, manufacturing, warehousing, and education. So we have Fortune 150 automaker, right, that has us deployed in their manufacturing facilities around the globe. We have large numbers of warehouses that have us in their operations. And what we're finding, right, what they're finding is, we can be proactive here and identify performance issues before they impact the users, Kevin. This is really gets real powerful, right? And we're able to do that because we can run end user quality checks, on the wired and the Wi-Fi. Okay, so now that we're running those quality checks 24/7 by 365, right? All 3 shifts, if you have multiple shifts in a warehouse, we're able to see trending analysis and set up alerts when the trends start to degrade. And in the Wi-Fi type of environment, often that's the case. Okay, you'll have some type where the interference comes in and all of a sudden, knocks people off the network, but often it's networks that degrade over time. And so being able to run these synthetic testing, these end user quality checks on the network, CIOs love them, IT leaders love them because these are running constantly and they're able to proactively, and we've had this happen to answer your question, alert IT organizations when they start to degrade. They're able to take corrective action. And now they've prevented any downtime within that network. So we're doing 2 things with our solution here for manufacturing, warehousing. We're doing 1, proactive quality checks on the network. That's to prevent any issues from occurring. And then we have our AI technology that's running continuously as well. So when that issue occurs, alert goes out with a solution to prevent it from happening again.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a huge thing. And I can see not only just IT loving it, but operations loving it as well. I know, being from the operations side, I certainly have put the pressure on IT a few times to get the internet back up and going so we could do what we needed to do in the warehouse. So I think it's really interesting. And I love the fact that it's, like we said before, that it's so proactive in not only taking care of what may be happening, but also alerting the IT team to what could potentially be happening, or preventing the same issues from reoccurring, which I think is a huge thing. So really interesting stuff that your solution is doing, and I think it's a big plus to have something like this in an operation, especially when we talked about having so many things connected to the internet and relying on the internet to really operate in most cases. I think is very difficult to potentially find an automated warehouse or a warehouse that is dependent on mostly systems that has a potential workaround to fulfill orders still without internet. I think that is a very hard and difficult thing to do. So really interesting solution. And I'm curious here because, I'm hearing a lot of discussion about 5G as well, and 5G coming into play for the Internet of Things and connectivity and things like that. I mean, from your perspective, what does the future of Wi-Fi look like with 5G coming into the picture? I mean, is 5G a potential replacement for Wi-Fi, or is it something that it's going to work together? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, what we're seeing, and we've talked to a lot of companies and vendors and partners and end users. So the information that we have, right, is that there's going to be a combination of technologies. When I say combination for mobile connectivity between 5G and Wi-Fi, I don't expect either one to kind of win out. And there's a number of reasons for that, right? Each one brings its own strengths to the equation. If you look at 5G, there's some great technology within 5G for managing latency, right? They really focused on latency and jitter. And so for time sensitive, applications, that makes it extremely, encouraging. But on the flip side, as we all know, 5G coverage within some of these warehouses is also a challenge, just getting the coverage.
I think 4G is a challenge in some cases, I would say.
Exactly, 4G, right?
Yeah.
And so, what you're looking at when you're talking about cellular, right? 4G, 5G, and again, it can be very powerful technology, and we like it actually. We're actually continuing to explore it ourselves. But 4G, 5G, you have to get coverage, reliable performance and coverage within the facility, which means one or two things. Either you're going to rely on the external network, which then you're running into the challenges of getting cellular within the walls, in the building, reliable with all your inventory, et cetera, like Wi-Fi. But at the flip side, right, you could deploy a private 4G, 5G network, but that's not always going to be financially available for a lot of the customers, right? Because you have to light up a private 4G, 5G network so that you can make sure you have sufficient coverage within your facility. And so there's pros and cons, right? And then just pure capacity, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Wi-Fi being a local area network design, in most cases, is going to have a higher aggregate capacity. It also tends to be more pervasive, not on, I'm saying mobile smartphones, obviously we have cellular coverage, but on IoT devices, a lot of IoT devices do not come with cellular connectivity, right? They're built in with Wi-Fi because it's pervasive, it's cost effective, et cetera. So there will be use cases, absolutely, in manufacturing, warehousing, moving forward for cellular connectivity, 4G, 5G, public, private, but we strongly believe that there's going to be a need, and we're independent of this because we're not providing the designs and the chipsets, but we believe there's going to be a combination and use cases for both 5G and Wi-Fi for the indefinite future.
Very interesting. Yeah. I was curious about your perspective there because, certainly there's a lot of talk about 5G and what it could potentially do and how it's being used now. So I was curious about that. And it sounds like the Sounds like there's going to be a balance between, when you use 5G and when you use the typical internet that we have now, which is really interesting. So it'd be interesting to see how that continues to evolve and how it's utilized in our different situations. So Roger, I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us about Wyebot and how it can help us in our Wi-Fi struggles and connectivity issues and help us prevent those. And I think it's a really interesting solution and something that is definitely essential to a business to prevent those downtimes and keep things up and running. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. If people want to learn more about Wyebot, how can they do that?
Yeah, excellent. I mean, the best place to go is our website, right? www.wyebot.com. That's WYEBOT. And what's nice about that, Kevin, is right on our website, we have a link for a free demo or trial. Okay. And that tends to be extremely valuable for customers to do a free trial, no obligation, but they get to see the AI technology in action, right? The synthetic testing in action within their warehouse, test it out, see the value, calculate the ROI, and then make a business decision to move forward. So again, website has all kinds of data and information, but also has a link for a free trial. And we strongly recommend customers doing that because once they see it, right, we're all about saving time and money for IT organizations and operations.
That's great. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well so people can easily find it. So Roger, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.